All right, everybody, welcome. Today I'm speaking with Ferdaus Chia. Did I pronounce that correctly? Your last name?
Yes.
Yes.
Salam alaikum, brother. Thank you for
Walaikum
inviting me.
salam. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you because I was on your show a few weeks ago, and then
Yes.
I wanted to have you on to maybe dive deeper into the topic of being a you're a Muslim revert, but also you are now having a family, and you're kind of at the next phase of your life compared to me. You know, I'm still like a new Muslim very much. So I just wanted to kind of understand better how you go about that. So, but for people who don't understand maybe your story, can you give us some quick understanding of like when did you actually become a Muslim and how that happened? Just a brief overview.
Okay. I embraced Islam in 2014, 2nd of November.
Mhm.
So that's about 8 years ago. Previously, I was Catholic. I went to church every Sunday. I went to the catechism classes and very much did a lot of church activities like we have Christmas carols. I would join the band, play during mass services. But it was a daily routine. I did read the Bible. Didn't really. I thought. I mean, I really believe Jesus was everything. It was like the truth for me. Um, but when I went to Australia and I started asking a lot about what I truly believe in, whether Jesus was God and what's the meaning of life, we dive deep into existentialism in philosophy class, and that's when I deconstructed my entire faith and found that I didn't really believe in Jesus. Yeah, yeah. I mean, or the idea of who he was in Christianity wasn't something that I truly believe in, and so I left the faith in the sense I didn't go to church after that. I started to just focus a lot on having fun and partying my life away and bring positivity to those around me. I thought that I have this philosophy in life where if I'm happy and I can make people happy around me, and that's fine, there's a ripple effect of love and happiness. So there's not really a need for a religion at that time. I thought, maybe this is all a man made thing. And so I just thought of satisfying myself, just make myself happy, and kind of like was in the center of the world kind of imagery I had. But then my grandma passed away, and my parents asked me to come back for a funeral in Singapore, and that's when um, I really start to ask myself if there's no God who is in control of death. And that's when I thought maybe there's actually a supreme being, because I couldn't control that aspect of my destiny in life, which is death. I thought I could control everything. Like I could be successful in life. I can, you know, have fun and be, party, or I can do anything I want in life. But there's one thing I cannot change, which is stopping a person from dying. And my grandma was someone I really love, and I spent most of my childhood with her. So when she passed away, that got me really thinking, like, who is in control of death? Why can't I change that in life? So I became more of I don't know what is the term, but maybe agnostic,
Mhm.
someone who believes in creator but no religion. I didn't want a religion to tell me who that God was. I thought religions were all a man-made thing. And then I went back to Singapore after my studies because I'm Singaporean. So I go back home to my homeland, and that's when I started working in the bank. I met a girl who was my colleague, and she was a Muslim. At that time, I thought, oh, we are kind of kicking off, getting closer, becoming, in a relationship. And she said, I told her up front that we can't have a relationship together because you're a Muslim and I'm the kind of guy who parties hard and don't care about tomorrow. And she said, oh, then why not, why can't you be with a Muslim? Then I say, because you in Islam, you have all these restrictions and everything, right? So I can't really have that life. So he said, why don't you find out about Islam? Go to a convert center and ask all your questions. So I thought, okay, sure, I will ask them philosophical questions. I was quite arrogant, and I was like confident that they're not going to be able to answer me when I was there. But I was proven wrong. So I went to the convert center. It was like a beginner introduction to what is Islam all about. And she asked me to write all my questions and to come to the teacher with all my questions. So I wrote 3 questions down for him. At the end of the class, I asked him the first question: why do you believe in one God? That's what I asked the teacher. Why not 2 or 3 or 4? Why do you believe in one? And he gave me a very simplistic or logical explanation. And he said that if there were 3 gods, one God that made the human head, one made the hands, and one made the legs, which God will say that I'm the best in making a complete human body? Maybe the head, the God that made the head would say I'm better because I gave men, intellect. The hands would say I'm better because I give man the hands to feed himself, and the leg one would say I make him travel to distant places. Basically, they will start, having this argument who will be better at making the human being, and none will come to a conclusion, right? So you need a one God to unite everything and say, no, I'm the most powerful being, and that concept. And then he gave me another analogy. Like he asked me to look at my computer. You have a monitor, a mouse, a keyboard, and don't we need a power source to power all of them up? So I thought that concept was easy to understand. Why one God? But I wasn't fully convinced yet. So I asked him, why not Jesus? Why not Buddha? Why not anybody else? Why Allah? Why do Muslims believe in Allah? And he said, okay, so he asked me what was my form belief, and I said I was formerly a Catholic. So he said, okay, so you believe in Jesus? I said, yeah. And then he said, so if Jesus was God, will God would you think a God is merciful if he has to sacrifice an innocent man in order to save humanity from all their sins from the time of Adam, right? Or would a God be more merciful to just forgive you whenever you ask for forgiveness? So that kind of like woke me up a lot. And he said, if Jesus was God in definition, divinity means someone who can't die, but he died on a cross. And I said, yeah, but he rose up again. But I said, yeah, so did he die or not? Because that would not mean that he sacrificed his life. And if his life was not sacrificed, then it was not a sacrifice. You have to lose something, so you sacrifice something. So that kind of again woke me up. And I asked him about Buddha. Then he said, but in Buddhism, people believe in the teachings of Buddha as a way of life. They do not believe that Buddha is actually a god, and they do not have a connection with God. So you may have a way of life, a formula to lead a good life, but if you do not have a direct connection with God through a proper prayers and connection, then you simply without a guidance at all. So that was his explanation of Buddhism. But I wasn't really into the whole Buddhism thing because I was really just challenging him.
Yeah.
I'll just see what kind of answers he have. And then the next one, sorry.
I just had a question. If there are many atheists in Singapore or
Atheists
in Asia, generally, you think?
The thing is, we can't measure atheism. To what extent is a person considered an atheist? I mean, they can just openly say, I don't believe in a God, but do they really believe? I have no idea, because nobody, kind of like filled in the form and said, I don't believe in a God. Yeah.
Here they do.
In Singapore is, sorry?
Here they do.
They do.
Yeah.
In Europe? Oh, okay. Maybe they do in Singapore, but it's not known to ask, us. But in school, we do fill up forms like, what is your religious belief? That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't see an option called atheism at the time, maybe. I think they were just focusing on just the four major religions like Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam, and Hinduism, something like
Mhm.
that.
Did you look into Hinduism as well?
Hinduism, no, but I believe they have multiple gods, and it's like a polytheistic belief. And the concept of one god kind of sounded more rational and logical to me, so that polytheism wouldn't make sense to me. So immediately, any religion with a polytheistic belief would just not be logical to me.
Yeah, it starts
Yeah.
with one. It starts with Brahma, which is one supreme god. It's very
Okay.
similar, and then it branches out into million gods, like quickly. So it's there is this element of one god, but essentially it's split then into millions of gods or no gods. You can choose whatever you want. So then that you can see like, okay, there's some mistake there.
Oh.
At
But
least,
the thing is,
yeah,
the gods, the statues that they do,
yeah,
they are quite scary.
yeah, they are scary, and some of them are even they have like earrings with dead babies, and they are like simulating sex and like really crazy stuff. Um, really, some rituals are really insane, but I'm not
Yeah.
criticizing. It's just like
Yeah.
too much.
But from an outsider perspective, that wouldn't appeal to me when I see a statue of a god like that. So I would just like, oh, this is like going into a cult. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't appeal to me. So I asked him. The last question was, why Allah? Why? What is the meaning of Allah? Why do Muslims believe in Allah? And he said that it's just an Arabic way of saying the God, but he meant that it can't be divided. It can't be, it's the basically the creator of the universe. He
Mhm.
has absolute power, and then he doesn't beget, and he's begotten, and nothing can be compared to him. So he explained to me, if you're a Muslim, you will know Surah Al-Ikhlas, which
Mhm.
is the surah. So I didn't know that was a surah that he was actually saying, but he was telling me the definition of God from there, and that made a lot of sense. That's what I always believed in. Even after my grandma passed away, I thought there must be an absolute power somewhere, and that kind of coincides with what I already believe in. But then I was still not ready to be a Muslim because I was thinking, oh, I need to fast, I need to eat halal food, and there's still the restrictions, right? So I thought, am I going to do this for life? and, and
Yeah.
and give up my freedom kind of thing. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll give fasting a shot because Ramadan is around the corner, and I'm going to try the hardest thing ever in life, and that is fasting. I've never fasted in my life, so I thought, okay, this is the chance to try. That was in 2014, right? So I no, that was in 2013. So I took a year before I became a Muslim.
Mhm.
So during the Ramadan, um, I I fasted, and I was surprised that I did all the 30 days of fasting. So I thought I could never do it because I'm new to this. But somewhere around the last week of Ramadan, that's when I had a dream. I woke up one morning on a Saturday, I think, around eight or nine in the morning, um, and then thought to myself, maybe this is a coincidence. So what I dreamt was, I dreamt that I was walking down a hallway, and there was a guy sitting at the center of a living room. He was on a couch, and he has this really warm, approachable presence to him, and he was just smiling and very inviting. So I walked towards him, and he said, "Brother, when are you going to be part of the family?" And then I just woke up. So I thought, this is strange. Maybe I've read too much about Islam or something. So on the same day, a friend of mine asked me out. He's Muslim, asked me out for dinner. So I had dinner with him, and he said his name is Ibrahim. So he said, "Brother, I've been seeing you going to the convert center. So are you thinking of being a Muslim?" I thought, okay, maybe it's still a coincidence. He's asking the same question as the guy in the dream. So I went back home, and the next morning I still wake up with the same dream, and I thought, oh my God, this must be a message. Maybe this is a message from God for me to really think hard now. So I took up the Bible and the Quran. I put it on the bed beside me and I said, okay, I'm going to do something crazy now. I've never done this. I'm going to test you, God. I'm sorry. So I said, I'm sorry, God, I'm going to test you. I believe you're there. I know of your magnificence and your presence, but I really need to figure this out. And I need your help to guide me. I'm going to flip the Bible 3 times randomly and the Quran, and whichever verse that my eye set upon, it should be very clear, like crystal clear, like saying this is the truth, this is the way, follow me, I'm God, or something, something very clear that I can't deny. I took the Bible first, figuring that, since I'm a Christian first, so I'll try the Bible, flip it 3 times, can't remember the verses. I can't even remember the verses when I was young. So it's not easy to memorize the Bible, to be honest. All I know is that it's a bunch of stories where you kind of can make 100 different meanings from even just one line or two, right? You can make so many interpretations of a verse, but it's not crystal clear. What I want was like very clear. So I took the Quran, closed my eyes and opened a random page, and the first thing I saw was, woe unto the disbelievers, this is the truth from your Lord. And I thought, okay, maybe it's still a coincidence. And I thought, okay, maybe I try again, and close my eyes, and next time I open, it's a random page again on a random chapter, totally different chapter, and this time it says, have I not shown you the signs in the world? Do you still have to ask, who is your Lord? So I thought, this must be such a coincidence, right? Yeah, I'm just basically paraphrasing the Arabic translation of those verses, but that's the gist of what it was. And I immediately broke down in awe. It's like somebody speaking to me directly at this point, and my heart was happy and trembling at the same time, because you kind of hearing the Creator kind of talking to you through those words. And so I thank God for guiding me, and I said, as promised, I will follow the religion that speaks directly to me. And so I called the convert center and asked them how to be a Muslim. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh, you just have to come down and do the Shahada, and it's a declaration of faith, and that's it. And you're a Muslim, and we'll show you some books to guide you on how to do the prayers and everything. So from that day on, I was so excited. I told my girlfriend then that, okay, I'm going to do the Shahada now. And she's like, what? Wow. And so surprised. And she's so happy because she said that she has been praying every night, doing her tahajjuds, late night prayers, asking God for guidance to help, give me guidance. And now that I have it, she's just got her prayers answered. So afterwards, I asked her to marry me, not on the same day. Not on the same day, but I was thinking that since she's the one who brought me here, she should be someone special that I should keep in my life. And a year or two after that, we got married. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
That's the story.
Yeah, it's a really good story. It's much better than mine. But can you remember, like, right now we have this perspective, right? So like if I speak to somebody from my family who's an atheist or a Christian, and I just want to shake them like, hey, there's going to be day of judgment, there's hellfire, there is these things, like it's hard to convey this, like they don't, you can't just say this, like, this is a very difficult thing to understand. So I throughout your story, and I can recall mine and multiple others that I've heard of, it's not just the arguments, like there are clear arguments where I can make, okay, there's just one God. This makes the most logical sense. There can be more because they would have power struggles and all these things that you've also mentioned. Plus, if there's no God, then the entire universe is random. And so just from probability, how could you believe in randomness and just look around the design of the universe and the earth and all the species and your body, you know, how can your body be so perfect and, you know, do all these things without your even knowledge? When you eat food, it gets digested. You don't do anything. And is this random? When it's random, then why isn't the other person doing it differently? Why is it like almost like programmed into us? So there's so many things around us. And so, yeah, and then why was the Quran, why is this the word of Allah? It's pretty easy to explain as well. Why is it different than Bible? So there's so many like arguments that are like, if you put your ego aside, yeah, I think I get it, you know, but for me the same, like I knew Islam is the truth, but I didn't become a Muslim for a year or something. And I tried to understand myself, like why? What was I thinking? And I think it's this scary thing where you have to change your identity, like you have to change everything about your life, basically from eating to drinking to, you know, praying, and you have so many things you will have to change, and that's very scary. And I think, you know, so just you just, many people are stuck in this phase. They just understand Islam, they say okay, it makes sense, but they don't do anything. So like, subhanallah, like this is your test, you should do something right at this moment. So I don't know if you feel the same. And I think what you said about the dream, that's very necessary. All the converts that I've talked to, they all had this sort of spiritual experience. So all the logical explanations or questions are nice, and I get it, but I need something real. Like I need some experience now. And it came to me, I had this like fitra awakening when I was jogging. It was like really crazy moment. One of my friends had it during the reading of the Quran. You had it as well when you did the testing of Bible and the Quran. Everyone has that moment or dream, and it seems like very real. And that's when you are like, okay, I just have to submit. Like that's what I have to do now. I know it, now I just have to submit. And it's like so difficult, like all your ego, all you think you're in control, no, all this stuff has to go. And that's like, subhanallah, this is so difficult that so little, not many people do this, because they have to like rewire everything. Do you agree with me, or do you think it's like, because if it would be just logical, then everybody would be Muslim, like, hey, let's just agree, there's just one God, right? So like it would be easy, right? But
I fully agree with what you say. Why? Okay, but I have to add on to that. I think people perceive reality in many ways. Some people perceive it in a logical way. Some people perceive it in a spiritual way. They need to experience something, and some people need to basically let down their ego and be humble about it before they accept something to change in their life. But what, like you mentioned about an identity, which I think a lot of Western people have, they hold on a lot to their identity. But the question is it truly their identity? We have always think that we own this identity, but we have slapped so many labels on ourselves, like I'm a banker, I'm a lawyer, I'm a rich person, I'm a poor person. You know, we have so many social classes, which school you're from, and all that. It you know, we wear on this, they call it like a magic image that we put on ourselves to tell people who we are. But in essence, if you go to a monastery or even a Buddhist monk, he will ask you to let go of all these images and be one with the universe, right? There's some this belief where you have to be one with the universe, and and we realize that even in the Bible, even the Quran, they mention about us coming all the way from Adam. So if we were to look from that perspective, then we are same, although we are different in color and skin and, you know, culture and heritage, but we are same in terms of what flows in our blood, in our love for humanity and love for God. So we have some things that are same. We want peace and we want the world to be good. So in that essence, I think we can encourage people who are still on a journey of discovery to look deeper in themselves and reflect. It's hard to tell people to do that unless they truly want to seek truth in their life, or they want to seek meaning in their life, or they want to seek some reason to hold on to.
Mhm.
Then they would need to deconstruct everything about themselves and start all over, which is what happened for me in philosophy class. That I think that moment when God, introduced philosophy class. Okay, people will say the teacher introduced philosophy class, but I had to be in school, I had to meet that teacher, and I had that. There's so many different ways of looking at something. So I would attribute it to coincidentally being in school, being written in the Quran, written in the books that I'm supposed to be there at that time, and it was necessary for me to deconstruct everything that I believe in at that point and start all over. I was always going through life, and I do ask myself from time to time, why do certain things happen? Like, why do I experience a breakup, or why do I experience a failure in my assignments, or why do I not succeed as well as that person? And that, so I always thought that I want to be in control of my life so that I can be super successful, But what is success? Again, we have to, philosophy is good in that sense. It keep pushing you to question everything. And our idea of success, our idea of what is true love, and what is real or not. So I come to a point, I was in an existential crisis at one point. I don't know what is real at one point, but we know what is real because somehow, right, you couldn't be breathing, right, if you're not real. One of the Ustad one told me, right, if we are in so much control in our life, try holding our breath for just 1 minute or so, right? And we will gasp for air. We want to breathe. And none of us can do that without breathing. And yet we say we are in control of our own lives, right? We can't even stop our heart from beating. I mean, we can just kill yourself, but, you can't, basically there are elements in life which you can't control. And people think that they know everything when we have only 5 limited senses. So reality is far beyond that. The universe itself is so massive. It's always expanding, right? In science, we know that. So how can we use even 5 senses to understand the universe? What more understand God? So yeah,
I
the
think,
Quran. Why the Quran? Sorry.
go ahead.
The Quran. You just have to read it with an open mind without Googling, searching for Sheikh Google to tell you what it is, or asking everyone. Actually, just take the book up and read. It will speak to you. But you need to drop your ego, be humble, restart, in the, okay, come back to Buddhism, right? I know some monks, they say, how can I fill your cup if it's already full? And he asks you to empty your cup, So you have to empty your cup before more information can come in. So sometimes in life, we need to empty our own cups, take away all what we think we knew about Islam and start all over. That's the best way to understand a religion and faith. And you'll find that the Quran, something that is revealed over a span of 23 years since Prophet Muhammad was given the revelation, peace be upon him. And at the point of time, for a man who is illiterate to recite something that's so poetic and eloquent was astounding to the Arabs there. When eloquence and poetry was at the height of the Arabian culture at that point. So for someone to deliver such eloquence in the poetry would be like somebody of nobility or somebody of status. And the miracle was he was illiterate. He couldn't read or write. So he was reciting the Quran, and that's why people were amazed by it. And just think about it, the Bible, if today, let's say we burn every single holy book around the world, every book, which book will come back in less than 3 days, maybe? The Quran. That's because in Ramadan, you realize Muslims recite the Quran from cover to cover, and that means they have to memorize it. Okay, maybe some of us only memorize a few pages or a few surahs and a few ayats, but we have in every country someone who actually memorized the entire Quran from cover to cover. So that itself means the book can come back. without, you know, the hard copy or anything. And how do you pass that knowledge down from generation to generation? Nothing has changed in the Arabic words. I know some people will say, oh, you know, the time of Uthman, they did burn the Quran or something. I read something around there. Yeah, but they got it wrong. You know, there are dialects of writing the Quran. Basically, there's an extra comma here and a, you know, apostrophe here and that, because there were different tribes trying to recite the Quran. So they would write it in their style, although the words are the same. So, like for example, if I were to relate it to my heritage in Chinese, um, you have Cantonese, you have Hokkien, you have different dialect groups, but we know what we are saying because we are saying the same thing. But if you were to ask us to write what we are saying down, it would look different. So he wanted to standardize the writing style so that everyone will be reciting it, you know, in proper manner. And that was what happened. He burned those that were, you know, extra commas or something. He wanted to simplify it, and so that's easy for Islam to be shared around the world. And that was what I found out over time. So if I were to take my prejudices or my misinformation from anywhere else, then I would always have this guard, right? And I would never see the reason behind certain things.
With regards to what you said about the reading of the Quran with some intention, so like, yeah, I read it like 10 years ago, a couple of pages, and I had like really bad intent. I was like looking up these war passages and trying to like make some sense of them, and I had a really bad mindset about it. But I completely agree that you have to first of all really deconstruct yourself and what you believe, what's your identity. That will make you slightly depressed. So that will make you slightly like on edge, and then you need to want to know the truth more than anything else. So that's kind of the mindset to have when you're dealing with religion. So then you can kind of search for it. If you still hold on to the things you used to believe before, or you have some identity, then it's going to be a problem. That's not to say that when you embrace Islam, you lose everything, like your identity, but you're building your values from grounds up, from completely different ways. So, but I mean, people can live their life without religion or without anything. It's just you're unable to get deeper meaning in life. You just have to live surface level, like you get drunk or you just go to work, but there's not much in your life that has some sort of meaning, because it's impossible, because you have to do these deconstructions first, and most people don't want to do it. So yeah, it's kind of,
yeah, some people live life just going through the motion. I mean, that happened to my friends and I too before. I mean, we never really thought about time, right? For example, time is something so precious to every one of us. We have only so much time to live.
yeah.
But we spend time queuing up for things that we don't need. Sometimes we spend time on the TV or, you know, social media maybe. Yeah, like we just scroll through the news feed or something. We never really think like, are we using time wisely? And before you know it, when it's time's up, we'll suddenly say, I need more time.
Yeah, it's more, so that relates to death. So like at some point you can be ignorant, but at some point someone's going to die in your family, or you will have sickness. So like for me, I had like a sickness and I had to face my own kind of death almost, and it was okay. But I had to think about it like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be living forever. Like, like probably I will die. Okay, so what then? What's the point of life? Like, even if I make all the money or whatever, there's no meaning to it. So that's pretty depressing, you know. So that's when you have to kind of dive deeper, I guess, because everyone have to die. That's like, it's actually written in the Quran. I think I've heard it from one sheikh, that this life is actually meant for death, and the next one is actually the real life. This one is just the death is supposed to happen, right? So that's the entire purpose of this life, to die, you know. So if you want to avoid it or not think about it, you're actually doing yourself a disservice, kind of, because you're supposed to think about death quite a lot. There's many hadiths about this, like think about death, be here like a traveler, don't get attached to things in this dunya, right? So yeah.
Don't be worried about taboo. because like from a place I'm from, I've seen different cultures and religion when how they respond to death. Okay, and you realize that the Muslim faith, people who are Muslims, they take death in a much lighter tone. They don't really, cry their heart out to that point.
Mm.
They accept it because they know that it's a transition to the next life. So, so they're more accepting of death when we do a comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Especially, yeah, I mean, as an atheist, that can be pretty difficult because you don't believe in anything. So the only thing you have is this life. I mean, can you still remember, like looking back maybe 8 years ago, can you still remember how your life was before, like your day-to-day thoughts
Yeah.
before Islam? Like, do you still remember, like, was it a nice existence, or what did you kind of like, what did you
Okay.
think as like
Um.
an agnostic or whatever you were in that?
Okay. This was my thinking. Okay. Okay. I want to really have a good time on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday. So I need to finish my homework and everything by Wednesday. So I'll plan all my schedule, going to class from my Wednesday, put everything down, and then have fun the next half of the week. Okay, where to have fun next? I think okay, I'm going to I'm going to party at this place at 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4 this place, and then back go to my friend's house. Watch TV until 7 a.m. or something, and it felt like I was living life on repeat and eating junk food and going for. I mean, it was fun for a time, right? You get to spend time with friends, but now when I'm on the other side, when I go to our religious classes, I sit down with other friends who are Muslims and we discuss about the meaning of life and everything. I enjoy those conversations too, and but the
Mm.
difference is I felt that it was time well spent because I felt like, oh, I knew something. Every time is enlightening for me. It's like a reawakening every time I do knowledge, searching for knowledge. But whereas in the other life, when I was partying and fun, it was always, oh, I want to get that girl's number. Oh, I want to have a good time. I want to finish the week happy, and I want to be successful in the workplace. I want to. It's very physical and material, and once it's gone, once you have it, you realize that you have bad things also at the same time. Like for example, you like somebody, you date with her, and then the next thing she leaves you, and then you go in heartbroken or something, and you try to find another one, and and try to be the man who don't get heartbroken, and you it sound like this psychological warfare that you're having with yourself day in day out.
Yeah,
Then when are you going to really say, no, this is going to have to stop. I need to find myself. Right? That was when I said, I need to find myself. And when you want to find yourself, start by deconstructing yourself.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's just constant distractions because I used to do the same, just like constantly distracting yourself from your day-to-day life by
Yeah.
going out or something. And it's like a cycle because it repeats every week. So like Friday, Saturday, you're out, and then you kind of work in a week, and then again it repeats, and you're unable to stop it. At least for me, 10 years I lived like this. I couldn't end, like, because there's no reason to end this if you like don't believe in God. Like, what else is there? Like, you just have your body. So I don't believe in nothing else, so I'm just gonna enjoy my time, or and enjoying my time means living life, like going to concerts, parties,
Yeah.
dating girls or whatever, or doing
Do you
some
play games?
or whatever. Sorry.
Do you play computer games?
I used to play a lot. I play still like
Uh-huh.
FIFA. I play some sports games, but before that, I used to play a lot, like
Yeah.
some games. I was never a big gamer though. Yeah.
Yeah. In moderation. Yeah. But for me, I used to really go on for hours, like Dota, if there's
Yeah.
something you're familiar with, or World of Warcraft, just went on for days. And you have LAN gaming shops where I meet up with friends and we all have our headset on and we're just like, yeah, we're going to win this match, something like that. And it was fun. But if you keep doing that, it just makes no sense. It's meaningless at the end of the day.
Like the
And you
metaverse,
always try to search for new high. Sorry. Yeah.
like the metaverse today, you know, you have this metaverse where you put the glasses on and you join it. You've heard about it from Facebook, you know, this virtual reality marketplace and everything. So that's, I don't even want to start because it's like, so it's for Dajjal. Like this is exactly, people who do this, they will be so easy because they don't,
Yes.
they want to live in this, like, I played Counter-Strike a lot. So I played Counter-Strike with friends a lot. And it's like, you waste like 6 hours and you have like nice feelings. You kill someone, you know, headshots or whatever. But it's like, what did I achieve? What was the, like, I just wasted my time. This was from Shaitan, because Shaitan wants you to waste your time to distract yourself from the remembrance of Allah. That's the entire purpose. And like, you just wasted your time playing this game. It didn't add any value to your life. And it's
It's all
just like,
simulated. It's all
sorry.
simulation. It's
Yeah.
all a simulation.
I
You're
mean,
in a
it's
world
fun, but you
that's
know,
not in
it's,
reality.
yeah, it's if you prefer that to your real existence, then you'll have an issue, because your life can never be that let's say fun all the time as like in the video game, right? So you can always you will feel sometimes like bored, or like, what am I supposed to do now? That's when you should reflect, like how much, when you were not believing or agnostic, let's say, how much time did you spend just sitting around thinking about something? Like, I just did Juma today, and like it didn't start for 45 minutes. So we just sat on the carpet and just sat there, nothing, just sitting there and just thinking about Allah. Nothing, no book, no phone, nothing, just thinking like about my death or whatever. Like, how much time? I never did this before. I never did this before. You know, this is really important to reflect, you know, at least a few times, you know, in a week or whatever. I don't know.
Yes. I used to do that, but not thinking about Allah. The time when I wasn't a Muslim then,
Mhm.
my friends and I, we sat at some steps in Australia. We have a cup of coffee and we just look at people walking by. That was what we do.
Mhm.
And we would guess like, okay, this person is from which country? And we start to describe. We have inside jokes, this guy looks a bit funny, he's walking funny, something. So it's a waste of time, but we don't get to talk to those people. We're just talking to ourselves. we're just sitting on the steps talking to ourselves, and 3 hours of that. I don't know. How can anybody do 3 hours of gossiping with your friends about people that you don't know?
Yeah, yeah. Especially, and then once you're gossiping and somebody asks something more deeper, like, okay, well, something happens, something real, like somebody is sick or whatever, then it's not fun anymore. Like it starts to get real and you don't know what to do. And people are just like, yesterday we had a team building in the company and I'm the only Muslim. And so I left before they start drinking alcohol. But we were discussing like some things and something about that and quickly changed the subject quickly. And they start, I'm just like, guys, like you should really, like, sometimes I like to ask them questions. I don't talk about Islam, but just ask them. But it's impossible. They don't want to even, I don't want to even think about this. Okay, well, that's good. But
Too heavy. They always say it's too heavy on the mind.
it is, because it's like, oh, okay, so now there's consequence to my action. Okay, that's not nice. That's not a nice
Yeah,
feeling.
people don't want to know that they have to be responsible for everything they do. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's like really crazy. And but by the way, so you got married. I actually seen I think you've posted on YouTube like your full nikah ceremony, right, and all that.
Yes.
So that was really interesting. Go check that out if you're listening. It's one of your, I think, most popular videos. It's like really long, and you see the whole ceremony. It's really great. I had like a very small one compared to that, But what happened then? So like you get married, right? So like, okay, did you start living together? And when did you decide like, okay, we will have a family? Because you have a family, right? Or how's that?
Yes. So right after that, we haven't found ourselves a house yet. We're living with my in-laws. They have a spare room, and after the wedding, we went for a mini moon. My wife called it a mini moon, like a
Mhm.
little getaway for a while. We went to Lombok in Indonesia. Just go to the Gili Islands and enjoy the sun and the sand and
Nice.
the beach, and then go back to Singapore. We lived in her parents' place for a few years, and then we start looking for a house because in Singapore it's quite expensive to get a house, and you need
Mhm.
to plan for that.
It's a very
But
small place, yeah.
yeah, in today's time, some people propose with a house key instead of a
Really?
ring. Yeah, because they say I finally got a house ready. You can just move in straight away.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, but for me, I still like traditional stuff. Give her a ring.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, and then we find ourselves a new home and thought, okay, after traveling the world a bit more, we are ready to have a kid, and then we just have a son just a year ago. So that's how old my son is. Yeah.
Mashallah. Yeah.
Mashallah. Yeah.
So one year. Okay. So this is so it's kind of a new experience, right? Because for me, I am planning, inshallah, to have some family. I don't know when, soon,
Mhm.
but I'm kind of afraid of one thing. So since I'm a Muslim, my whole life changed, not just within me, but also the outlook on society, like especially the modern world. I mean, there are differences between America, Europe, Asia, or Africa, but generally the world is moving in one direction, and I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it, but I think people are too obsessed with their sort of like desires or whatever, and it's just this massive push everywhere in the world, even in Muslim countries, to this thing, this secular modern state society, whatever. And I'm just afraid to raise kids in that, because like you have advertising, right? I did the most horrific, not, I didn't kill anyone, but I did many things wrong in my life, right? I definitely don't want to have my kids go through some of the experiences I had, but how do you protect them? It's impossible. Even if you live in like Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter today. Like you have the internet, you have all these things. I do believe that living in a conservative country, somewhere like Malaysia or some Muslim majority country, is better, because like society is more, it's not that easy to change it, and but there are still things there that could be problematic. So how do you think raising your kids could be in this modern world? Because 20 years from now, 30 years from now,
Mhm.
everyone's plugged into metaverse, right? Everyone's doing
Oh, that
all
is
this stuff.
it's good. While they are sitting down with the metaverse, I'll enjoy life in the real world.
Nice.
But I mean, okay, this is the advice that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave. That the time will come when you want to hold on to this religion, and it's going to be so hot, like coal. It's so hard to hold on to.
Mm,
But remember to hold on to the Quran and my Sunnah, which is the
yeah.
teachings that I have in the Hadith. So his way of life and his practices. So if you take the time now, you have to go and find out what are the sayings and teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and study the Quran. You can educate your children and yourself to hold on to those two things tightly. Because he said to hold them tightly, like you'll never hold them as tight in your life before. Because when that time comes, when the Dajjal comes, you know, many will fall. And those are the only two things that will prevent you from entering hell fire. So so that is because he already know about the prophecy, so he knows about what's going to come,
Mm,
certain signs that you'll see. So we are advised to do that. So don't worry, don't be so depressed about what's coming. In fact, we should rejoice knowing that if the end time is coming, it means justice is coming as well, like the end of time. And if you have done all things that is right, and you put your trust in Allah, you increase your iman and knowledge, you hold on tightly to the Quran and the Sunnah, inshallah, with His mercy, you enter to Jannah. I mean, even God said, right, to the lady who was a prostitute, she fed the dog water, and because of His mercy, she entered heaven. So even if we are Muslims, we are not guaranteed heaven. Only by His mercy that we enter heaven. Yeah. But what's the difference, right? The difference is we have the book of guidance. So it's more like a golden ticket. I would say if you scratch Willy Wonka's chocolate bar and you get a golden ticket. We have the golden ticket. It's just whether we want to hold on tightly to the ticket before that time comes or we let it go. So
one thing, isn't it crazy that imagine we have this golden ticket and I still sin sometimes? Can you think it's I know it's like programmed in us, but can you imagine, like, this proves that even if God, even if Allah, even if Angel Gabriel came here where I am and told people, hey, I'm real, worship me, they would still not do it. It's impossible for a human being to obey the law 100%. It's not enough for us. I don't know what's wrong with us, but you know, even if I know this is the truth, I'm a Muslim, I still sometimes do something wrong. It's not logical because I should know that this is, you know, here's the path, don't go away. But I still sometimes, I don't, like, what? And everyone's doing it because it's written, every man is a sinner. It's even sheikhs, everyone is doing this. But why? This is like clear, like even if you saw God in your own, with your eyes, or I don't know, like even if you had the most miracle happen, still this wouldn't be enough. Still, if he told you to do something, you would still try to find a way to disobey. This is the truth. And I once made a video about this, but it just kind of like makes me think, like, I don't know what's wrong with us. You know,
well, they say that because we are in a world of test, this is the testing ground. We have a veil that's covering our eyes, so we can't see past that veil. And because we can't see that past that veil, we are always testing it, you know, trying to figure out what is real in life, what is the behind this veil. And along the way, we sin. So God say, if you walk through this door, just go straight and come out, you will get to the right path. But we say, what if I take the little road there? You know, I'll still be able to hit the end road, you know, the end point. This is, we always trusting too much of the intellect instead of the heart, or you know, we think we know better instead of what we truly want to follow in our heart. So that's why in the testing ground we have to keep connecting with with God, asking Him, you know, to guide us. That's why in our 5 daily prayers we have the Al-Fatiha, which at the end, please guide us to a straight path, because God knows that we will always get astray, and that's why He instilled the 5 daily prayers so that we will keep saying this, guide us to the straight path, and then He will guide us.
Yeah. And you know, like when you're in the grave, there will be these angels that come and ask you 3 questions.
Yes.
Who is your Lord? What is your religion? And who is this man? And I always thought, like, oh, easy, I'll just lie, or like I'll just, you know, whatever. But it's not this. Like one sheikh explained, like that connection between your mind and your heart is gone. They'll just look at your heart and they'll see who is your Lord, and you won't be able to lie or even explain. It's just gonna say like Allah, but is it in the heart? If it's not in the heart, then you're out. You don't believe in Allah. Or what's your religion? Islam. But if you didn't live Islam, it's not gonna say it. And who's this person? And if you don't, you won't say Muhammad, peace be upon him, if you didn't do the Sunnah. So like, how, if you didn't live the Sunnah, then how can you, you know, so it's all connected. So you can't just, if you're a Muslim, but you don't do these things, you will be like, I don't know. Okay, that's not good enough, you know. It's based on your life, you know, these things, and you can't lie. It's all open. So yeah, that's
I'm not
pretty
sure if you
scary.
heard this from the Sheikh. I'm not sure if this the same thing you heard from the Sheikh, but I heard somewhere where everything that we possess in this world is a loan to us. So like our mouth, our ears, and our eyes. And on the day of judgment, we can't use them to describe our lives, but they will be testifying against us. So the eyes will say, this is what I saw. Yeah, this is what I saw, pornography and so forth. I was being a servant serving this body, and he wanted to see these things. So I couldn't turn away. So God will, basically put a sin on you for doing that. So, and then the hands, I was eating too much bad stuff, and those hands would say that they did the wrong things, not you. They start to speak on them, their own, because God is asking them. The Creator is asking its creation, what have you been doing this time? And they can't stop saying anything. Yeah, they can't be quiet. Now, that was one of the reason behind the analogy behind the body speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, also, and like a lot of times you must realize to have like a healthy fear of Allah. Like that's very important, because if you don't have that, then okay, well, if you don't fear Allah, then that's a problem you have, because you basically can justify some of your sins, but you should fear Allah. It even says in the Quran, almost in every chapter, something about that, that the successful ones are those who fear Allah. And I never quite understood that, like, and then I got it, like, oh yeah, like if you really believe this, then you fear Allah, and that's the basics of your faith. Like you must have this, but not just fear because of him, fear because he will expose who you are, who your sick, things. So you will kind of not get away with what you did, not because you're fearing Allah from that he will punish you, but he'll punish you for what you did. So that's the fear, and that's pretty intense. So yeah, it's just good to remind.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah, we need to massage it more in conversation. So that's where people start to think. We do that a lot in class last time. Philosophy, 3 hours of talking. Yeah.
Nice. Can you imagine, like, if you lived like 1,000 years ago, when Islam was like the golden age, and like, I don't know, in Iraq or somewhere, well, it wasn't Iraq, but somewhere there, like how life was then. It like, I sometimes think about it, like, because now I'm here, it's pretty difficult to be Muslim today, especially here. Like it's not easy. And I just kind of sometimes think about like how these people lived like 1,000 years ago, like they had a day, they had a goat, they went to the mosque or something, just some simple life in some desert, but it must have been pretty nice, when like Islam was the most powerful, everyone was a Muslim, could have been nice.
I think I certainly did think about that a lot. Like I think about, well, what if I was traveling in the Arabian desert and I meet Arab people and I was living there, and but I believe in every time they have their own sets of challenges, and as much as we want to experience that, we might not be able to take the burdens of that time on our shoulders. So like it's mentioned that God gives us only the amount of burden that we can bear. And during the prophet's time, they are the most tested people in life. The kind of challenges that he faced, Prophet Muhammad was born and his father passed away, right? And then his mother passed away when he's 6, so he's an orphan. And after that, he had foster uncle taking care of him and stuff. So, I mean, being in that kind of life where you're illiterate, you can't really make a living and stuff. Yeah, finally, you can speak, in such eloquence. So, in all that journey that he went through in life, people throwing stones at him or spitting at him, or even Jesus, if you talk about Jesus, right, his life, 30 years old and you're going to be put to the cross, and Noah, who's going to face the flood, or Jonah and the whale. Can you imagine those kind of challenges if they were put on us? I would definitely not pass them. I would.
Well, Noah, especially, I think he had like 900 years he did dawah, and no one accepted his religion. It's like, this is bad. I mean, it's not bad because he did what he's supposed to do, but the people were so corrupted that, it's like, subhanAllah.
Yeah. And it's strange. Are we returning back to a time now where we want to exclude God in every conversation we had or every kind of life we live? Like the world is getting so secularized that we're going back to the time of Noah, right? And people were like, just there's no God and stuff. So we had this experience in history before, but yet we're repeating it over and over again. It's quite strange that, you know, humans never learn.
Yeah, I read yesterday in Surah Maryam, I think, that basically you had these generations of prophets, and then what happens is like people stop praying, like they stop praying and they go astray. So like as soon as you stop praying, in whatever, maybe you were a Jew, like in the time of Moses or whatever, right? This is before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So like those thousands of years ago, they stopped following the prophet of that time. The soon, 2-3 generations after that, it's gone. Everything, the attachments left. And again, they have to send another prophet because it's like these people are going somewhere. And this is what I can see on in my eyes here, like 2 generations ago, my grandmother, my grandfather, like very religious Catholic people, you know, even women when had headscarves sometimes in like when you look at the graves of Christian women here, like born 100 years ago, you can see like headscarves, like very like they had this haya, this honor. They didn't want to be exposed, you know, and just like very pious. And like then like the generation of my mom and today it's just like complete 180, like completely totally opposite people are born that want to like wear naked, and you know it's just like okay, so because they stopped praying, like my mom or the generation of my like 50-60-year-olds that are like my parents and like their siblings, they no one of them prays, no one, they all fell. I mean, this is Christian specific thing, but if that generation fails, then my generation is completely lost with no guidance. And but I had to find it through this depression thing. But anyways, it's just like I think this is very easy to lose. You know, like let's say you're a Muslim now, but if you don't teach your kids, or if they don't get it, then they'll lose Islam, and then their kids will not even remember that their grandfather Ferdaus was once a Muslim, maybe. You know, so like it's very crucial to like you know, keep the deen, you know, because it's much easier to be born into Islam and have a clean life without these things that we had to go through. Because even if we had Shahada and it's all wiped, you can still remember those things, and they're not pleasant sometimes. I wish I didn't do some of the things I did. And so it's better to be clean from the start than later when you're 25, you know, you're already kind of like experienced too much life, you know.
It's very dangerous in the sense that you never know when you might go astray and never come back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like if I was partying and you know I meet certain people, I would just continue partying, maybe, I don't know, and I lose myself. You have seen people that actually went on to take chemicals and drugs and they lose a whole sense of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, for
They even
born,
lose their mind.
true,
Some lose their mind.
true. For a born Muslim, the challenges are that they don't have that experience, so they think, maybe, you know, I don't know what it's like to be drunk, or I don't know these feelings that you're describing, and maybe we're saying like, oh, don't even go there, like you don't need to know these feelings. But it may sound like, you know, from the outside looking in, it might be like, oh, I'm losing on life because I don't know what it's like to do this and that and that. But no, it's like you have to think about it from Islamic perspective, you know, and you're actually much better than we are in that sense that because once you experience something, then it's somewhere in you and you can always go back, and that's very bad. Like if you don't experience it, that's always better, like to just, you know, keep on the straight path. Because once you know what it's like to watch porn, then you cannot unwatch it. You already watched it, it's in you. So it's better if you never watched it, right? But if you did, then you already corrupted yourself somehow, and you can pray for forgiveness, and that's fine, but it's still, you know what it's feeling like. So it's like you've kind of destroyed part of yourself. So it's better to not even go there. And that's the hard thing about it, you know, these sins.
Even smoking.
True.
I was smoking before, was quite heavy smoker. I quit smoking. So yeah, that's a very hard thing to do. It's like an addiction, right? You smoke. The last 5 sticks were the hardest to quit. The last 5 sticks. But Allah made me have chicken pox.
Oh, really?
I had chicken pox, and they said, okay, this is the best time to quit smoking. every time I feel like smoking, I'll take a nap because I'm sick and I'm just going to sleep it off. And eventually I had 2 weeks of no smoking, and I thought, yes, that's a record now. And I'm going to make it a world record. And afterwards, it's been years now I've not smoked. So
Nice.
I mean, that was how it happened. For me, I can understand why you say, like, you know, when you start, you can't stop, because I still do think about smoking. It's just not going to go away. When
Yeah.
I take a pen, sometimes, you know, say, what if this was a cigarette? You know, or
Yeah.
you do have that kind of thinking. Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it's
for
hard
me,
to
it was
erase.
drinking mostly and smoking as well. But drinking was like, I haven't drank for 1 year and I don't know, 1 month. So that's great because I couldn't stop even for 3 days. Like I was always kind of drunk somewhere. And it's like, I would never imagine my life. 1 year not drunk, what? It's impossible without Islam, by the way. You can't do it. If you don't have faith, it's impossible because you will always have some opportunity or something, you know, it's impossible. You have to fear Allah because otherwise you will forever fall victim to the social, whatever consequences. But it was pretty easy for me to quit, but I can still remember it. And sometimes even I have dreams like I'm somewhere drunk, like I wake up like drunk, or I I remember I see someone drinking a beer. I'm like, I remember that feeling, you know. But if you didn't drink a beer, you wouldn't remember it, you know.
Yeah, that's much better, right? I mean, you don't want to be tempted every time you want to see somebody drinking, because we get tempted. Like I get tempted over and over again because I ever tasted a cigarette and a beer. Like, so
Mm,
I will have that temptation, where if someone who have never tried it will not have the temptation that strong. They might just say, "Oh, I don't want to know how it feels like."
true. Yeah, that's why it's so important that the kids that maybe even I raise, inshallah, they will have the basics of Islam so that even if I'm not able to explain something, like the basics will stop them from doing these. Sometimes, of course, sinning is part of life, but some of these things, it's gonna stop them to do it because they'll understand that they're just hurting themselves at the end of the day. They're not hurting Allah or me or none of them, but just themselves. So yeah, just the
So
foundation. They must be able to comprehend it and on them own. Like it's impossible to just force, like, don't do this, you know. Yeah.
agree. I mean, that's why, I mean, even Jesus said, right, there's so many things I want to say to you, but you can't bear them now.
Yeah.
I think we kind of get the idea what he's trying to say. Like, you know, you're just harming yourself, people. But we can't tell you sometimes. You have to kind of wake up yourself.
Yeah, this is exactly like when it comes to transferring Islam or doing dawah, let's say to my own family, which is the hardest one. It's just like, how do I explain the day of judgment, or what do I, you know, I've translated one of the videos of the recitation of the one of the surahs in my language. So I put the subtitles on YouTube and send it to my family, like, check it out, because it's impossible. You have to kind of read the Quran. You have to even hear the recitations. Maybe it's gonna do something to you, and listen to look at the words to understand the meaning behind it, so you get it. But if you haven't read it, then hard to convey. It's very hard to convey because I already knew before I read the Quran. I already understood the basics of Islam. So when I read it, it all made sense to me because I've heard many lessons and talks and stuff like that before that. But if you don't have any background and I start dropping on you like Day of Judgment, there's Jannah, Jahannam, there's 50,000 years, you're going to sweat. The sun is going to be a mile above your head, you know, and what happens in the grave, you know, and all these things. It's just too much to, you know,
Yeah.
convey. It's kind
So
of,
just say, you're a crazy guy. You're a crazy guy.
yeah, but then I can show you the proofs for the craziness from the Quran, the Sunnah, the philosophy. I can give you that, but I think it's kind of too much. It's too much to bear. Like you said, that Jesus said, like, if I told you this, I mean, I don't know if you can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just start slowly, you know. So yeah, it's just difficult. Anyways, well, thank you so much, Ferdaus, for chatting with me. It was really nice, and I enjoyed it. So let's keep in touch for sure. And guys, if you don't didn't subscribe, go to Ferdaus channel. It's going to be linked in the description. And yeah, I'd be happy to speak again in the future sometimes.
I'd like to
Inshallah.
ask you come back for another interview or something. We do have kind of like a philosophical discussion every now and then.
Yeah.
Maybe you can join us if you're free for those. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote this short book. Maybe I can send you about these arguments from philosophy for Islam. But sometimes it's kind of, you know, you have to be smart about it, because philosophy can also lead you astray very much, and it can give you bad ideas. So it's if you need to be kind of smart about that. But yeah, let's see what we can do. And thank you again for giving us your time.
Thank you. It was great seeing you again, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.